you familiar with the concept of evolution? In their time, humans were capable of many great things. Noah! They could fly like eagles fly. They could speak across oceans. But now it is our time. And it is my kingdom. We will learn. Apes will learn. I will learn. And I will conquer.
Welcome back to Punch Up Goes to the Movies. This is, of course, the show from the Punch Up Entertainment Network where we talk about movies in theaters or on streaming. I'm going to include on streaming since more and more stuff comes out that way these days.
Sure.
But yeah, this is our movie review program. I'm John Campbell. With me on this episode, Mike Gergoni.
It's me.
And Brendan, I think Gergoni accidentally saw the Super Mario Brothers movie again.
Yeah.
Can
I be the Wario to his Mario?
I love John Leguizamo in that film.
Of course.
He loves
He's
you.
wonderful in it.
That's not the one we're talking
Wait. Sorry, Gergoni and I were talking about the good one.
about.
No, of course, we're here to talk about something very different, but weirdly has become, and we were just talking about this when we came out of the theater, Brandon, because you and I saw this together. One of the finest film franchises running today.
Here's the thing. My entry into this was because of the podcast. Not really. I had seen, what's the first one? Rise
of the Planet of the Apes, yeah.
Right. I had seen that, and I thought it was really great. And then I just didn't see the others. And so this was the last to be curious thing for me.
Thank you for mentioning that, because you do want to head over to patreon.podbean.com, and you can hear synergy, right? You can hear Brendan's journey through this trilogy.
Journey. And I guess that is a benefit, the fact that I've been able to kind of watch them bang, bang, bang. And it's, that's what when I walked out of the theater, and, we'll all have our theories or takes, but I was just like, this is such a solid franchise. There's not a clinker in it so far, and it's done with such craft and care. And I'm like, I'm not sure people are really appreciating how awesome this is. 4 movies in, and I'm just like, keep them coming.
Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes is quietly like the most steady, at least, sci-fi franchise.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah,
because even across the old movies, there's maybe one that's really bad, I think.
Well, that's something we talked about when we did those last to be curious episodes on the Patreon, that even though they lacked resources, there was always smarts in those films. There was always some idea that they were trying to get across.
The thing I really enjoyed, because I did a rewatch of the originals, and I mean, not for the podcast, really just for myself, because I rewatched the original.
Sometimes you gotta go. Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, and sometimes you just got to go ape.
Yeah,
20th Century Fox invited you to do in the 1970s,
and I accepted that invitation. But what did impress me is, as the budgets drop, as the directors are forced to do what they can, and as the makeup budget also drops, and you're like, literally, there are people in Halloween masks, and then suddenly in the crowd, there's Cornelius. Okay, great.
I was gonna say, it's always like Roddy McDowall. They really do up.
Yeah. It's always
and then everybody else,
and then like Maurice Evans maybe, or it's like a couple of them.
Or when Paul Williams is in one.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But the thing I really appreciated about them when I rewatched is that it is not repetitious. They keep twisting the story, each one, and I'm like, that is good sci-fi thinking. They are not just like, and then we have another bunch of astronaut trope. No, they just keep changing it. I had kind of forgotten that the second one ends with the destruction of the Earth. I remembered the bomb. I remembered the mutants. I didn't
Literally
remember the
Earth
ending
blowing up.
Yes, with Heston like going, ah, they killed everything. Ah. But
insane.
it is sad that they couldn't quite meet the ideas with visuals and so forth. But yeah, so the originals are great. This one's doing the same thing. They don't repeat. They keep moving it forward. And there's a little bit of fan service here and there to the originals, but they're not being beholden to anything. So I just keep going like, wow, guys, you haven't let me down. So I was really impressed.
I look at Planet of the Apes a lot like I look at Star Trek, where the original movies, I always like loving them as a kid and stuff like that, but always kind of loving what they were trying to be more than, it's like, oh,
Sure.
There's good heady sci-fi in here, but the resources let them down. And then now it's like, oh, what I love about these movies now is I'm going like, see, that's what they always were. It's just you had to get through the shit. And then if you get the resources and the writing and everybody's, then this franchise is incredible. So I feel so vindicated as a lifelong fan of the Apes movies.
It's the Howard Stark, like, I'm limited by the resources of my time thing.
That's just pretty much the deal.
Yeah.
And actually a lot of classic sci-fi films or franchises could benefit. I'm not a big, like, oh, let's remake everything or reboot everything. But there are things like, for instance, for all of its charm, and this is whether or not you consider it a classic or not, but The Last Starfighter, it's like, oh, look at this, the breakthrough of 3D, and you're like, wow, that does not hold up.
Look,
but
the Death Blossom maneuver will forever change my life.
Yeah, I'm like, that you could now do, and it would be unbelievable.
Last Starfighter, I hear a lot of people going like, I'd love to remake that.
Yes, or do a sequel, but which I have one in my head. Anyway, so there are things like that where Hollywood, give me a call. Yeah. But the thing I really appreciate in this is it wasn't them just saying, oh, now we've got the money to really do this. They had a new take, and because they also smartly were like, you can't get them with the ending. It's no longer a thing about, we're going to hide that.
Right, that was there are many mistakes, because they, of course,
there are many mistakes.
Tried the one in between was the Tim Burton remake.
The 2001 Planet of the Apes,
yeah, which of course I was there opening weekend.
Me too.
How could you not be?
And there are things to salvage from that film, at least in terms of like performance and makeup.
Oh no, sure. Yes, makeup, there's some good stuff. Helena Bonham Carter totally rocks.
Roth rules in that movie too.
Roth is great.
Rules in that movie because great actor. Giamatti's great into. All the ape actors are in. They are so locked in.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
But I think we have an amazing astronaut in that.
He's not even the central, but he's a problem. But yes, that movie did make the huge mistake of trying to one up the twist ending.
Yeah,
I'm trying to recall. Isn't the twist in that one is that like Caesar is evil and like goes bad on the astronauts, and like that's what causes the time loop?
Yes.
I don't remember.
The ape on the causes trouble. And then the twist ending, of course, being that he's in a world where it's modern day. He seemingly has returned to his own time, except everyone is an ape.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
And they end with the ape, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, and then all the squad cars roll up, and it's gorillas in police uniforms pointing guns at him.
I do just love the image of chimpanzee Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Lincoln, if you will.
There's something so funny about that. That the idea of like history played out exactly.
Yes, exactly.
The way it did, except they were apes. So there still was a Civil War and a Lincoln. It was it was a chimp.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same otherwise. I think that's a very
I can't imagine that. I mean, do you think in script conferences they were like going, they'll just be blown away by the visual. They won't think too much about it. And just no, you immediately think about it.
From what I believe, what I've heard about that is that was a thing where they had like 4 different endings, and they were up to
like Clue.
Release. Yeah, but
like go back and see
up to release going. What do we? How do we? We gotta. What's the most surprising thing we can do? So once again, they felt burdened to do that. The thing that was so great about the start of this franchise was the whole idea was they were kind of. The one I always loved as a kid or fascinated me the most was Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, because it was like, oh, this is how it started.
Sure, exactly.
And so, but once again, and that's what I loved about the first one, Rise, was I was like, oh, they've actually like done this with the proper resources, and
and they don't feel the need to make it something that hinges on end of movie twist. It's just the beginning of how this could happen.
So
and
for the listeners who probably don't know, because why would you? Because the old Planet of the Apes movies are an acquired taste, let us say.
Well, the original is a classic. The original is like one of the great movies of all time.
Sure.
But from there on, yes.
The third, fourth, and fifth movie in that franchise, Escape, Conquest, and Battle, are setting up the like premise of the first one by introducing this concept of a time loop in which the 2 apes, Cornelius and Zira from the first movie, go back in time, and their kid is Caesar, the first ape who rose up and established ape law.
Yes.
I just remember.
And also there's a weird subplot where all cats and dogs die out and apes become predominantly like a slave class.
It's so much loopier. It's so much loopier.
It's weird. They're like going, well, since we don't have domesticated animal pets and humans have to have pets, how about some apes?
That's what well, the thing that was fun about those movies, as we're saying, is it was like, shit, we blew up the planet at the end of the second movie. How do we get out of this and make more? And so like there's so many things where these are so crafted and thought out, the progression of these new ones. Those were just like, oh, these are still successful? Fuck, we gotta wait, maybe they got on a spaceship before it blew up and they go back in time? That'll save us money too, because then we don't have to build sets.
Love it. It's creativity through desperation, and I feel like that can be great.
That is true of a lot of the genre stuff. We of course do a whole podcast about Star Wars, and I feel like a lot of it now, the Planet of the Apes movies are like this too, where the modern ones are made by people who grew up loving the original movies, but are now coming at it from like, oh, we're not doing this out of desperation, we're doing this out of love. So we're really sitting down and doing the work and figuring out the math of this thing.
That's the thing with Burton's that's missing is the love, because it feels completely like cash in on this IP, resurrect it, but not out of any affection.
Crazy,
and they get a great director, but a director who's like, I've never wanted to make a Planet of the Apes, but the money I couldn't turn down.
And
so
he kind of doesn't. I mean, the thing about it is that is neither a good Planet of the Apes movie, nor is it a good Burton movie. There's not a lot of Burton identity. Because it's not even. I think we would have liked it more if it had really been like this. Just
it's not weird black and white kind of stuff, and Johnny Depp's not in it, and there aren't a lot of swirls on things because he loves some swirls.
As bad as it is, really, the biggest thing I can say about that one, and this is why I did not expect to talk about it this much, is it's totally forgettable.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't matter, and that is not something I think of with Burton. Even when Burton fails, he's going to fail big. He's going to go.
What this new franchise or this new saga of the Planet of the Apes films really focuses on that the 2001 remake kind of misses the mark on is that one is really focused on, okay, the first one is remembered because of the big twist ending. That's what people remember about Planet of the Apes. When this new franchise is like, but the interesting thing about Planet of the Apes is apes as an ascendant species over humans. That's the interesting nugget that like you can really chew on forever.
One of the things I think people forget about that original movie is it really is like, it's not like an action adventure film. It really is like a philosophical, like a lot of it is a trial, and like it's like it's a really thinky movie. It's a Rod Serling script, right? Like it's very. So I think that's the other thing too, is people remember that twist ending, but you're like, yeah, that's the last minute of the film.
Yeah.
What was in the rest of it?
It is just about the hubris idea of humanity going, well, we are the masters of our world and that kind of thing, and but we clearly fuck ourselves up. So it's the entire natural order reverses, and that's something that Taylor has to kind of, come to terms with, which he really does at the very end, which is just like, oh yeah, we're the idiots. No wonder we now can't speak, and we're being hunted by these apes.
Blew it all up.
I know, you finally did it. So this series is doing that emotional and philosophical impact, but it's doing it over several films that just keep advancing it. I love that this one is finally kind of in the prime Planet of the Apes territory, with, except for a pocket of humanity. We have lost the power of speech, and we're herd animals essentially. And the apes consider us echoes or whatever, and it's like they're just animals.
Say before we get into this, I just want to spoiler warning starting now. We haven't really spoiled.
Why would you be listening to a thing about a movie?
I know, but if we don't, people get mad. So
okay, no, you're right. I don't want people mad at me.
We will say, I think the if you just want a summation or whatever, like, I think we all agree, go see this. This is
great movie.
Really,
yep,
it's great.
Really going to see, like, this is one you want to see in a theater too. Go see it, big and loud. It's great. Like all of these, all four of these movies are the biggest of recommends for me. I love
so damn good.
All right, so spoilers starting here, because the thing that's interesting about this one, of course, is we had the Matt Reeves, what became the Matt Reeves trilogy, the Caesar trilogy.
Yeah, because Matt Reeves not really involved in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but has a firm hand on Dawn and War.
Yeah, and to the point where it really does speak to how good those movies are, that he's so beautifully built from that third movie that it does feel like this wasn't all just one guy's vision.
Yeah,
he really smartly did that. So the thing that's interesting about this one specifically, of course, is we had that trilogy, and now this is the fourth. This is both movie 4 and movie 1 of something else at the same time.
Yes and no. I'd be curious to see whether or not they continue with these particular characters or not. I could see them doing another time jump after this.
Well, I speculated on that too, but I think even if they do one, it's still the start of a second trilogy. I mean, it feels that way, but the trilogy may do time jumps. But we've moved past Caesar's lifespan, and now we're seeing how it affects the future of that planet. So I think it can feel like two trilogies, of course, dependent upon what happens next.
That is how it's being designed. At least from listening to the filmmakers talk about, this is being thought of as, if not a next 3-part story. In some capacity.
The way I came at this movie, and you're both going to groan when I say this out loud, is this reminds me of Dune as a franchise.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's not even a groan. It's just like, of course.
Yeah. Well, just the idea that, like, the first central story of Dune focuses on Paul Atreides, right? And, like, how he changes the universe. And that's our Caesar for the Apes franchise. Sure. Caesar's actions and how he creates the Planet of the Apes ripples outward. And that's how you create this larger, more robust universe. And there's such a strong central conceit of, like you were saying, Brennan, the, like, hubris of man thinking that he deserves the planet. When there is a new ascendant species that is clearly, like, building a new civilization. And I think this film really smartly asks some questions about, like, well, you can't go back, right? Like, we exist in a world in which apes have built a society. You cannot put them back in cages. It just doesn't work that way.
No, and that pocket of humanity in this film, by the way, I mean, again, spoiler alert, there is a non-affected by the virus pocket of humanity who still have their smarts, and they're laying low, and now they have the ability to communicate across the world again thanks to satellites. So where does this go? But even if they, like, combine, maybe they can get together and we're going to fight for our world. The thing is, and it's what Noah's saying at the end of the movie, he's like, just what you said, Mike, you can't go back. And it can't be. It has to be what Caesar said. It has to be human and ape living together is what it has to be. But it does appear that this pocket of humanity that's their goal, is to take it back, and it's a stupid goal. That's what makes May such a complicated character in this thing, because you're rooting for her, because for one thing, she's a wee slip of a gal with big eyes, and you're like, good on you, May. But then she makes these hard decisions, and she's got this plan, and then you realize that she sees another way, but at the same time, she just goes back. She's done her job, and she's aiding what is a stupid cause. What you think is a stupid cause. If we know, I mean, I think that is their plan.
It's framed that way because the apes are our main characters and have been since like halfway through the first movie, right? Like, as soon as Caesar gets a look in his eyes in the first movie, when he's pulling at the collar and saying like, "Am I a pet?" Like that's when the movie shifts and it's Caesar's franchise from then on out.
Yes,
right.
No,
and I think that's
poor little Franco dying off screen midway through.
Yeah. Well, the thing I love about my favorite of these still is the second one, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Dawn is great.
Because I love that is the final moment where there's no going back.
Yeah.
Like once Gary Oldman makes his decision at the end of that, and the warships are called, that was the last moment before this was gonna, like, it's the whole thing with Jason Clarke and his family in that movie is like, oh, maybe we can live side by side, and it's just like, no, humans fucked it up.
Dawn is probably my favorite of the original trilogy as well. I just rewatched the 3 movies in quick succession before I went and saw this film yesterday.
Which I is the way to do it, for sure.
I think so. I mean, I will say this movie does a lot to stand on its own, and I really appreciated that. I don't think it's not like Lord of the Rings where it's like, okay, you have to watch Fellowship and Two Towers before you watch Return of the King every single time. I could just throw on Kingdom without having to watch the previous 3 movies.
Oh, without having to watch them. But if you had not seen I'm not
saying
trying to imagine someone who's
them.
not.
That would be wild.
Yeah. I think that would be impossible.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That is why this is both movie 4 and movie 1. And
yes.
It's so interesting. I've seen a lot of reviews go, the fascinating new reboot. I'm like, it's not a reboot. Don't say that. They think
this is a reboot?
I've seen a lot of people say it's a reboot or describe it as a reboot.
Well, people don't understand that word anymore.
Yeah, because it's just like, no, it's just
it's a sequel.
Forward. Yeah, it's just a sequel that is introducing new characters. That's it. That's a thing. That can be a thing, you guys.
Yeah.
That can be a thing. You can move hundreds of years ahead.
And I think it's something we're going to become more and more used to, as like we're not seeing as much backtracking on continuity on stuff. And especially if something's working, they will keep things going. I mean, certainly we're seeing that with Marvel, sort of with their new generation in some ways of heroes and things like that.
Well, and Planet of the Apes was really a franchise that pioneered that sort of thing, because while that first original series of movies did consist of a time loop of sorts, they never went back to old characters necessarily. It was always progressing towards completing the circuit.
Well, sort of. I mean, Cornelius and Zira are the main characters for quite a while before it becomes Caesar, and
that's interesting, and a lot of that though is,
but it is an actual continuity, and that you're following, even if it involves time travel.
Like we've been talking about with those old movies, though, a lot of that is just contingent on production stuff. Heston wants too much money, so suddenly Taylor's not the main character of the second one, right?
I'm gonna kill everything!
So it's just like, I'll be in the first scene and the last scene of the second movie, and in the meantime, you get, what is it, James Franciscus?
Yeah.
Just dull as all get out.
You mean the great James Franciscus?
Sorry, yes, the great. And so then that does make them beef up the parts of Zero and Cornelius even more. And then it's like, okay, well, if the third movie, well, maybe those 2 apes everyone liked, maybe they got off the planet before it blew up. And then, yes, it becomes their son, who's still just Roddy McDowall even. So it becomes Roddy McDowall inadvertently, just by being like, yeah, I'll keep coming back, ends up the center figure of that whole franchise.
And I'm going to give him credit. He is playing a different character as Caesar. Now, he hasn't done anything with his voice. It still sounds exactly like Roddy McDowall. But even under that makeup, I'm like, oh, you are not Cornelius. You're doing another character, and he's like winningly, sort of meek, and then he gets his strength, and it's like, yeah, I'm down for it.
Well,
He's such an interesting character that one of his biggest lines is very awkwardly ADR'd. Anyway,
but that leads us to, I think that's one of the things I loved about this coming into, this beginning to whatever this new generation of apes movies is going to be, is the characters they've built here as well are all unique and different than the apes we saw in the last three movies. And I think one of the most amazing things to me about, because the technology gets better, each one of these apes look more real, but they do such a good job of, even though these are photorealistic apes, they're all individually defined. It's never like
they are and they aren't. There's some special features on, I think, Dawn specifically, and they go into it in War as well, the Blu-rays of those, where they talk about like how they humanize the ape faces in ways that aren't like they're not trying to do the Lion King remake thing of like
no.
National Geographic totally photorealistic.
Right. Well, because that's one of the things I was watching. It's interesting you should bring that up, because I was watching a thing last night on YouTube, which was Andy Serkis talking about how he played Caesar, and it's just him in a photo shoot, white room in a suit. But I watched him become Caesar without the CG, and you could see it, and it was amazing to see. Oh, it is the thing about what the motion capture is doing, right? Because
that's doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of creating an expressive, emotive ape face that all these actors are living in. That in the 70s was prosthetics and makeup, and now is just pure digital.
They're still doing the same thing, basically. It's just now they're using computers to do it. But you're still building from an actor's face and then building an ape.
Clearly, the thing is, while they are obviously able to be much more detailed and much more, and their body shapes are ape shapes. I know they walked around in mocap suits and they've had ape training as to how to move and walk, but still, it's something they could not have done in the originals. But here, it is all about the eyes. That's the thing, is that they have the facial structures of real apes, but the mouth movements, they are keeping very close to what the actor did, but they have kept the actor's eyes, and it's so amazing to me that you can look at them, even if you don't quite know what actor it is that's playing them. Sometimes you can actually guess just by looking here and go, oh, I can see the eyes of that actor. It's like, oh, I bet I know who's playing this one, blah, blah, blah. So they are distinct. It is still pretty amazing that, they're not, at this point, hundreds of years later, they're still not wearing clothing, really, but they are thinking about
things. There's little bits of armor,
little bits, and you start going like, but that also helps with identification, because Noah has the arm guard for for the eagle to land on, and all that kind of stuff, and they start getting the red mark there when they're slaves, and it's like, you can kind of tell which one's
little
which.
Things, even little details like, oh, this one has more fur on its head. This one has less. This
like
is
there's the bald one. That's the
and you just go like, and the main female ape character has a slightly more feminine feeling build. But it's still ape.
And something they do over the course of the films that I picked up on is like a lot of the female apes have like hair parted at the center, and like the male apes don't necessarily, they have more of a swept back look. Like there is a look that develops in ape culture.
That's amazing over the course of the last trilogy as well too. That was seeing Caesar age, right? Suddenly it's like Caesar felt different movie to movie. You felt the years on him.
And again, just a big old tip of the hat to Mr. Serkis. That guy. Huh?
They're all walking in his shadow, right? Like he defined so much of it from that first movie, and they've just been adding more and more people who are doing their variation on what he started as the central.
I think that was the big test.
He's the monkey master. He is the monkey master.
But that was the big test of this film, and what left me a little unsure going into it was, without Andy Serkis's performance anchoring the ape performances at the center of this movie, was this going to be as emotionally resonant and affecting of a film. That's, I think, where this film like really succeeds, is that proving that these apes can fly without Papa Circus like holding them up in the air.
Well, I think one of the things
they all did an amazing job.
And I totally agree. And I think one of the reasons that happened was, and I don't know if this was, I think this was just the nature of the story, but it ended up working out for the longevity of this, is they did start surrounding Circus with more of an ensemble of ape characters in each movie. Because like the first movie, it's so heavily, like it is Circus and there are other apes, but it is really that central lead performance. And then each movie they start to build it out. And then like I love Steve Zahn in the third movie as Bad Ape.
Yeah,
that's a totally different kind of character. Another great actor. And I think now the technology. You also have we'd be remiss if we don't mention Terry Notary, who's another mocap actor who does a lot of work on these, and I think did continue to work on this. And Circus, at least from what I gathered, did some consulting on this in sort of a like we can call him way. Not that he was like on set every day, but it was sort of like, hey, you did define so much of this. Are we on the right track here?
Yeah.
And he's been really impressed for this, even though he's not involved.
Yeah, it totally doesn't suck to have his number when you're doing a Planet of the Apes movie.
And I'll say this now. Don't go back to Gollum, man. Don't do it.
Oh, it's too late. That's
Hunt for
his
Gollum
movie.
thing they announced.
It's
yeah,
his movie.
I know, and that's just like, man, that's a step back on this guy's amazing career.
But it's what he wants to do. And are you the man to tell him he can't do it?
No, well, I'm not telling him he can't do it. I'm just saying I would be careful.
Be careful, because we don't need me talking about the Tolkien estate and what rights they're allowed to use. So that movie's going to inevitably be a disaster.
See other episodes where we've talked about Tolkien stuff.
Go listen to our Rings of Power discussion.
I will not.
Yeah, no time. But no, so that's the big thing. Yes, this one definitely was. Not only do we not have Andy Serkis, we don't have Matt Reeves, who, while he didn't make the first one, became the central creative force of the second two. What we do still have, and this was something I know you and I were wondering, Brendan, and reading interviews about this, we do still have the team of Rick Silver and Amanda Jaffa, or is it Rick Jaffa and Amanda?
Well, they're producing.
But they are. But I mean, I've been reading interviews. They are the architects of this. So
okay,
they didn't write
but
the
they
script.
didn't get a story credit. I kind of would imagine that they would have worked with the writers, and
they did. But from what I gather, kind of like Feige never gets a story credit.
Oh, okay.
Like every interview I've seen, I was just reading a long interview with the director and them, and they're going, we're sort of the people arching out all of this. We're looking at the trilogy.
Yeah, and they're still getting producer credits. They're this is clearly still involved.
They are the keeper of the lore and the continuity.
And to a great degree, obviously, you've had amazing directors all across the board, and amazing effects artists, and great cast. But I think a lot of what we're responding to is just how cleverly they have taken the raw materials of the original and done their own thing. And I think these are the architects. These are the people that if you take any of these pieces out, it will kind of not be as great. But somehow this has all come together smartly, and I put all that kind of with the writers, because they are the ones sitting there going like, well, then we go to here, unless they screw it up in the next one. If they screw it up in the next one, fuck those guys.
Well,
never mind. The whole thing fell apart. No,
I think the big bullet they need to dodge, and I think so far they've been doing a great job, is like there was a quote I remember from the release. I think it was from around War that Matt Reeves said when some interviewer was asking like, "Oh, so like, what is the next film called?" And like, well, maybe we lose the beginning prefect and we just go Planet of the Apes again. I think that is the worst decision this franchise can make.
What is to bring Taylor?
Is to make it try to like that first movie, the twist ending already exists. If you try to double down on it, you get the 2001 remake.
Well, I don't. That's the thing, though, is I don't know if you were to remake some, because I think you could. I don't think you remake that movie, but the idea of a Taylor type character coming, it would be a totally different film, because we have all the context that guy doesn't now. It's instead of the opposite, where we come to learn the world through him.
could foresee the third movie in this trilogy doing a time jump, and then the astronauts from that time coming in, and ape society will have advanced even more, and at that point,
what in the interview I was reading with Silver and Jaffa, they were saying that they're like, where is the the kind of your point, Brendan? They're not wearing clothes. They go, well, it's still probably about 200 years before Taylor lands.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense to me because they don't have Ape City yet. They don't have the lawgivers. Right. They don't have
on their timeline. They're like Taylor lands here, and so we're all just kind of building. So it's like that would maybe be third trilogy.
And at that point, sorry, I'm choking. At that point, they will finally be wearing clothes. And they will finally be wearing color-coded clothes, so we know which ones are chimps and which ones are orangutans and which ones.
It's an interesting thing that's something this movie deals with it a little bit. But I mean, we see our first dictator, right, in Proximus Caesar, and the idea of trying to organize the apes in the way that we're familiar with from the original.
Well, weirdly, by copying human history, which I find really funny, that it's like William H. Macy's like, he always wants me to tell him stories of history, but he's really focused on Rome. And you're like, okay, that's hilarious that it is sort of a I like that idea. And so learning the wrong mistakes from humanity's history.
Also, like, you mean that doomed culture? Like,
doomed culture that lasted 2,000 years, longer than any other civilized empire. Just saying.
It's true.
I hate a Roman apologist, Mr. Gagoni.
I just think that under
it's a
unified
wonderful day.
It was for a while.
And I gotta say, I mean, everybody's great in this. Kevin Durant, though, as Proximus Caesar,
holy heck,
so incredibly. And I gotta say, of watching some of the press interviews and stuff with this, no one is more excited to be in this movie than that guy.
Oh, really? That's
when you get to be a scene-chewing villain whose name is Proximus Caesar.
And he is more than happy into every interview turning into Proximus Caesar. And
that's awesome.
A wonderful day, and bringing on the physicality of that dude just seems like he is having the time of his life. We just talked about him a couple weeks ago, Brendan, in Abigail, which he's also fantastic in.
Yeah.
That guy, always loved that guy. And
he's an up-and-comer.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a talented newcomer. No, he's been around.
No, he's one of those guys where it is like, but I think people still kind of treat him like that because he's one of those character actors where you go like, oh, he's great. And then you go, he's that and that and that and this and that. Jesus, he's been amazing in, 18 other movies that I've seen. And I just kind of am not piecing it together. But much like when Macy showed up in this movie and I turned to you, Brian, and said, this guy just makes everything better.
William H. Macy, come on.
And the guy, because he just comes and he just has a little part in this, but this is a perfect use of him because you go like, who's going to instantly give this character gravitas and weight in the film? And it's made the second he shows up, you're like, oh, we're in good hands.
And another complicated character because, I mean, his outlook is not necessarily wrong, but he's given up. So
he's
the
backing
idea
the wrong
of the
horse,
collaborator, he's back the wrong horse.
That's one of the things when you're talking about the complexity of the character of May. That's one of the things I really like in kind of all of these movies, but particularly in this one. Nobody's really wrong. Now, Proximus Caesar is going about things in the wrong way, but even the idea still of like organizing.
Right. They're not really cartoonizing to the extent that the original trilogy did, because the original films did, because the original films literally do sort of go, the chimps, they're rational-minded and compassionate. The orangutans, they're the intellectuals. Then the gorillas are militaristic and violent, and they were that basic. Yeah. This one is making, like any film, whether or not you have CG apes in them, complex characters. We were talking about, Gary Oldman's character is not a bad guy.
No.
And you're like, but he's the antagonist. But there's
even the slightly more evil Woody Harrelson in the third movie.
I mean, Woody Harrelson's pretty evil in that movie.
Okay,
but he's been made that way.
One of our greatest presidents. There are good people on both sides.
But I mean, the thing about
Brandon, no.
He is a bad guy, but he is still very human, right? He is still very.
Yes.
He has been made this way. Now
But,
he is.
and the point of that movie is, of course, that like humans are letting their humanity slip away a little bit.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the last scene with him and Caesar in that movie is good and incredible.
Dude.
Yeah. By the way, yeah. I mean,
By the way, these movies will never win an Academy Award.
And that is
other than effects.
And also, I mean, just like I don't know what the hell is going to beat this for effects because this is one of the most gorgeous.
But I just think it obviously it's unfair. These are beautifully written, shot, acted films.
Well, something
they will be overlooked because it's talking monkeys.
Yeah, and that's inherently stupid. Now that brings me to something I was telling you, Gorgoni, which I was reading the reviews, kind of skimming through the reviews, which are mostly positive. But I will say there's a slight backlash from some critics on this, and I swear. And look, I've long had a problem with film criticism. Anyone listens to me on any podcast,
you're a big film critic.
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, because I do think there is a sort of like, I'm a critic now. I have to kind of go in with a certain... And so I do think some people went in going, not Matt Reeves, not Andy Serkis. And so I have seen a lot of reviews that I don't agree with. They go like, it's dumbed down. Now it's a summer action movie.
What?
It's still good, but now it's clearly more about the adventure. It's just not the
They are fucking idiots.
And that's where I'm just going like, I don't see that in this movie.
They didn't watch the movie.
That's what I mean. I think that's an attitude they went in with. It had to be, right?
This movie actually surprises me anytime it ramps up into action because there's a quietness to it. There's you know, and there's real emotion, and then it's like any other film where you know, there's an outside force and the small community gets destroyed, and but it's not an action film. It has action beats in it.
And all the action's really good. When it gets to those moments, it delivers on those really well. But it never feels like, put the pedal to the metal, cue the rock song, we're kicking ass.
The final confrontation with Proximus is a community singing together to bring eagles to attack the guy. Like,
right. Oh, which is awesome.
I have to admit, like Proximus Caesar versus Noah on the sheer cliff thing with like the group around them and the water beneath. I was thinking like Black Panther. It was sort of like I was like, oh yeah, some of these beats, but then again, like you said, suddenly eagles are pecking at a gorilla, and I'm like,
just the script, the mathematics of the script. The thing with the eagle and his father being the bird trainer and the bird's not responding to Noah until by the end of the movie he does have them, and then the community is singing together, and that's what takes down Proximus. That's good. That's good, and that's solid storytelling right there.
When you say that certain critics are talking about like a dumbed down nature, one of my first thoughts coming out of this movie was that it is such a classic adventure story, like you were saying, Brendan, of like, guy, community gets burned down, has to go on an adventure to rebuild his home, and like is introduced to a larger world in the process. That is as old as adventure stories. Yeah, it's as old as adventure stories get. And so this movie is laden with tropes, and I think people sometimes mistake that for lazy writing.
Oh, I think that's another thing that once again, that's when I say my criticism of film criticism is like, I just hear the same shit like that, and it is just like, and you know, but like literally, I'm looking, I mean, here's somebody just goes, let's see here. Slant Magazine says, by the time the demands of big budget spectacle take over in the final act, it's a film that initially stands out from the pack and imagining a different perspective of the world ends up looking like everything else.
There are no sky beams. There's no robot fights.
I don't know. And and everybody's just going, entertaining enough, but lacks the ambition, smarts, or gravity of the last three.
Also, if you name your main character Noah and there isn't a flood in this movie, you're doing something wrong.
I know.
Yeah. Here's a guy who's going, enough already. This needs to be something different. It's too much like the other ones. We get it.
We get what?
Yeah. He just goes, yeah, there's some good stuff in here, but it's the CGI ape faces are good, but it's just the same shit as the other one. I'm like, that's the thing is, I just don't like this arms folded attitude, which always is what that screams to me. Because I'm so, like, you can get into whether you like something or not, but like these criticisms are just they're invalid. I don't know. Like there are objective things to you can talk about quality, but you know,
John, you're getting mad at the objective voice that reviews are written in. Is what you're getting mad at.
Well, that is exactly it. I wish more critics were subjective. I really do.
Yeah.
I really wish this is what I felt about it. Instead, it's all just like, well, when judged against the canon of, it's go like, did you have a good time?
Because there's a middle ground that needs to be walked because I think we can all actually say and have probably in conversations that no one wants to listen to talked about movies that we love that we know that people aren't fans of, and we can only go, I get it, but I just love it.
I believe the three of us had a conversation about Blade Trinity that went exactly that way.
Well, now wait a minute now. Hold on. Don't drag me into that.
You can all agree that we all love Blade Trinity just a little more than everybody else.
But we begrudgingly respect your love of it, is the thing. That's what it is.
I would like to see more critics say that, though. It always feels like it has to be. There's always kind of this attitude of, I don't want to be the guy who says that.
Sure. I think that's...
And also, in this case, it's just like...
the laziest, easiest thing of any critic to do is to... Because critics also know what other critics are going to say. Yes. And what's expected of critics. So what's expected of critics is to poo-poo populist entertainment. Is to say, if it's a superhero or a sci-fi thing or even a rom-com... we can sit there and go, well, the masses will eat this up, but there's nothing good about it. Yeah. And then they can sit back and extol the virtues, in often cases, deservedly so, of independent voices and foreign film and artistic la 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 la. But there is quality often in genre stuff that they need to have the guts to go, that is a solid narrative. It is beautifully done, and I don't care that it has a guy shooting lasers out of his eyes. It's great.
Yeah.
So
if there's one thing across all the podcasts we do that is my overarching point, is that like quality can be found in any genre. Something is not inherently better because it's a tiny little artisanally made crafted film versus you can find greatness and that stuff can be pretentious and full of bullshit just as much as these can be schlock that a major studio put out to make money.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing about Planet of the Apes, right? Is it's never been... I mean, okay, that's not true. It was at a time the blockbuster franchise, right? Like the original Planet of the Apes movies did gangbusters, but at least this new quadrant of Apes films has like quietly done really well while never being the explosive $2 billion end game blockbuster.
If you go listen to our episodes, once again, patreon.podbean.com/punchup, you'll hear though one of the things
going to get faster and faster doing that. And I can't wait till the day that it's just and that's
just subliminal messaging in the background. It's a slight whine that you hear the whole time.
Yeah.
Who's that? Patreon.pod. No, but
Yvonne Miage.
Yeah. The thing that's amazing to me about these movies is how quiet and introspective they are and heady and sad, and yet they make a lot of money. People go to them. These movies are one of my big things with, like, give the audience more credit. People will go and sit through and long too. The other thing is I frequently wear my hat on here that says make movies shorter, because I do think in general that is the case. But this is a 2-hour 25-minute movie that absolutely warrants that runtime.
Didn't feel like it at all.
I mean, that is a thing that
scope, right?
Yeah,
it warrants it. The size of the story they're telling. These are epics.
This movie, like any good one, genre or otherwise, it knows when to give it the extra time to let you know the characters. The ones I can't stand are they're going to use their extra long running time to wow you with some kind of visual or some kind of, I mean, see Star Trek the motion picture, where it's like, oh yeah, let's spend 20 minutes looking at space clouds.
Even I mean, and that movie, and that says everything.
Yeah, but the thing is, with this one, it is like, if you are going to invest, and they've also wanted to let you know the impact that Caesar had, so it opens with Caesar's, funeral, and then we jump generations ahead. So that's time that you could have chopped off, but no, we want that because we've been with Caesar for all these movies, and it's important. But yeah, so this thing, when it's stretching it out, it's so we get to know Noah and we get to know May, and oh no, why have I forgotten his name?
Raka.
Yes, my all-time favorite character, and his
whose
death,
name you just forgot.
I know, but he's
best character in this movie, though, unquestionably.
He is great, and his death hits you. That's right. Spoiler alert. Oh, come on.
He gets washed down a river. We never see a body.
Well, they would have brought him back at the end if he weren't.
You know what?
dead.
I've already seen the people going, Proximus fell in that water, man. He ain't gone. He'll be back.
Well,
I'm already hearing theories about.
That's a long drop, and no matter how powerful it is,
from that high up, water turns to concrete when you hit it.
Yep.
I just love it. Once again, it's that same thing about like, I didn't see no body.
Well, I'm just saying that this took
This
time.
doesn't feel like a franchise that would do that, but
no, I hope not. Even though I would love, to have a return, but at the same time, move the story forward. His job is done. He's passed on the word of Caesar. And I also love, this movie's getting in its little jabs, just like the original series did, where it's like the appropriation of a religious symbol, and Caesar his message gets distorted by Proximus Caesar, who sees the wrong thing, and he's got the Caesar, what is it? They call it the cult of Caesar or something. What is it? The something of Caesar? The council of Caesar?
I think it's the followers of Caesar.
Yeah, but he's using that symbol, which is painted up on his big walls.
Which is the window of James Franco. So that's why it goes all the way back to that
beautiful.
first movie. It's still in there.
We get the baby doll that goes mama. So it's all these little. It's just like, I love the Easter eggs. So the whole argument of the distortion of a message over time. It's like these people don't even know our Caesar. It's like they think they do.
And there are sects within it that disagree about what the meaning of Caesar's teachings are and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes.
I think this movie
is awesome.
It is awesome, but to your point about like where it spends its time and like what it's trying to convey, and like how writing it off as an action movie is so wrong-headed in some ways, is the fact that this movie, like, I would say, I don't know, I've only seen it the once. I want to see it a couple more times before I make any long-winded thesis statements about it. But like the theme I found at the center of this movie is empathy, right? And how people relate to each other, whether they be ape or human. And the fact that this movie spends its like middle 20 to 40 minutes with Noah, May, and Raka, and them learning to trust and understand each other. The whole sequence at the observatory between May and Noah, and how the two of them can see something beautiful and have the same reaction, and knowing that is what forms an empathetic bond between the two of them, was such a like powerful, quiet moment for me that like really pushed this movie over the edge.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing when I see that people go like, nah, more blockbuster filming, it's just like, dude, I guess you just don't want anything with effects. Because if you think this is just another dumb blockbuster, I don't know what to tell you. This is about as smart as these are going to get ever. So
it's using
I guess
the effects.
At that point, you stop with sci-fi then.
There's a term that gets like thrown around on a podcast, John, I know you and I like. I don't know if Brendan listens to it, but blank check. When like CG flubber, the idea that like sometimes when you have enough CG on a screen, it just turns to gobbledygook, and like it can be a formless and shapeless, and it's just colors and light and sound. That is not what this movie is using its special effects for. It's using it as storytelling tool and as effectively makeup. Like,
it's making a world. The thing is that in this case, it is also our familiar-ish world, so that gets them some leeway when 95% of what's on screen is something that has been created in a computer, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that way. I can kind of see that argument. People said that about Quantum Mania. They were so like, the effects weren't quite finished, but also you're in this fantastical space and everything on screen, including Ant-Man, is a CG thing, and you're like, wow, that's just it's color and nonsense. I won't really, come down too hard on that, but this
I like it though.
yeah, this has a naturalism to it, and it is presenting it documentarian style, where a camera has just been dropped into this world where there are apes who are intelligent and speaking. And the level they've gotten to now is insane. It's just insane.
Well, because that's the thing about it is
bubble.
That was the thing immediately out of the theater, Brandon was talking. But it's true. It is that level. We've gotten to that level of detail in the realization of the biology of these apes we're looking at. And while of course, intellectually, these are CG creations, you totally forget that. Everything seems so. And when you talk about what I'm looking at, 90%, 95% CG, the fact that I can't tell in a lot of scenes, I can't tell where it's a real location, where it's a studio, where it's been created at any point, what they've built in CG. That to me, these are, and I said this to you when we saw it, Brendan, that when people complain about things like CGI flubbers, you're talking about, you're gunning, and people go like, oh, there's too much CGI in movies. This is maybe the best use of CGI in anything, because these movies couldn't exist without it. Not like this. It would, because we saw it would look more like what that Tim Burton movie was, which, as impressive as that makeup was, that movie feels very stage bound.
One thing that and I like I said, I have respect for and affection for the original series a lot. Mm-hmm. But one of the big things there is, it's not just that the apes became smart. They are physically evolved closer to human, dimensions and that kind of thing. And that hasn't happened here. And actually, I keep looking at it going, and that's also smart, because they know it doesn't matter how intelligent the apes became, their bodies to evolve could take millions of years.
Right.
And we're still only a couple hundred years from, when the virus was released and all that stuff. So I don't know if we'll ever get them walking somewhat upright and wearing clothes and that kind of thing.
But there's subtle things in this movie where, like, these apes walk more upright.
Yes.
And
I think they literally are thinking of changes that they're going through, and the adoption of some useful gear. Everything they're wearing, except for, of course, Proxima Caesar wants to have a crown and all that stuff. Most of the stuff they're wearing has a point, like the sling, carrying stuff that they have, that they put the eggs in and all that. Anything they're actually using or wearing has a purpose, like a blanket, because you're cold.
And you got to think to, like, the purpose of clothing is to functionally keep warm, protect yourself from the elements in some fashion. And
also to hide our shame.
That's the other big thing, is like shame is this cultural impact of, like, we need to cover our bodies, and the apes don't have that. They're free of that in some way,
and they don't need to, because they're hairier too. So the other purpose of it, right, is that they don't.
I will say that they are being very discreet about ape genitalia.
Well, that's also very true.
And the women do have breasts, but it's sort of like, you're like, they're still like, look. People don't want to be creeped out by this stuff.
Well, so Brendan, it ain't that kind of picture.
But also,
the one I'm working, buddy. Oh, you're gonna see everything. Everything.
Look, you can get into this forever, but like the other thing is they just can't because that will get them an R rating.
Yeah.
No question.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
your pilot
debate.
script for Bedroom of the Planet of the Apes
Yep.
on the shelf.
Available on Cinemax.
The sequel's going to be called Key Party of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, these apes
They all split up. They share partners. It gets real crazy.
But no, that's the thing. Yeah. No, the thing about it that you talk about is it's so real and grounded, and then the more it's interesting. The more fantastical and awe-inspiring it becomes, the more tactile it feels. The more you see when you see the bird clan and their tree houses and stuff.
They're tree houses that are built on electrical towers, like the frameworks left over electrical towers. It's just every time, and the reason John probably picked up on already, but it was for me. All these little clues they've given us about where things are taking place, and I'm like, it's LA, because they have the airport and the Griffith Observatory, and I was like, oh my God, they're in LA. This is great. I know that. I know where they are. This is cool. But they're doing the Earth without man thing with literally the
moment
greenery
that was the first poster for this, which is Noah on horseback and all the trees overgrown on the buildings. And once again, I saw some of the reviews that go, we've seen these post-apocalyptic images before, but it's sure, like you talk about, it is like Life After Earth or Earth After Humans, the History Channel show. Yes, but to see it realized like this with these ape characters in full epic widescreen, it was astounding. That shot is amazing in a theater.
Well, it's playing on I'm going to say subgenre because that I think has been more and more played with recently. I think Horizon, the game series, has done this pretty successfully.
Oh yeah,
like post-apocalypse, because we're in a situation where it's like they're still living in like the ruins of of civilization that we know, but civilization itself is being rebuilt in that, and there's no reclaiming the wasteland like in, say, Fallout. So what if we get so far past that, and that's where this movie sort of lives, that like the ruins of previous civilization is just the background.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of this, when we finally get to Proxima Caesar's encampment or his kingdom, and it is, of course, poetically abandoned huge cargo ships that have rusted away, and that's like the castle, and it's sort of all of it is kind of perfect because they're living in the ruins of that, and none of them are too curious about it, except for people like Proxima Caesar, who has a pet human who's going to tell him stories of the past. Most of them are just trying to have their own clans, their own towns, and that sort of thing. They're not looking as looking towards creating a kingdom. Proxima Caesar is a forward-thinking ape, but he's also got the message wrong, and that's the whole problem there. But it's
then what's interesting is, and you get a lot of this in the scenes between William H. Macy and his character and May, is the world May comes from kind of worships the past, right? Their whole thing is like, we got to get back to when things were good.
Yeah.
And it's where you talk about, is Macy's not wrong when he's just going like, fuck it, you're going to drive yourself insane trying to rebuild that.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
gone. You've got to move ahead. Now, he has signed up with a brutal, violent tyrant.
Yeah.
Maybe not a great decision either. But also, there's a kernel of truth in like, you're going to ruin things even more by trying desperately to make it exactly as it used to be.
And it can never be that way.
Here's another thing about May, the character of her. I love the fact that she is essentially Black Widow. They sent her on a mission. She knew all the stuff to plug in, to turn on. They had given her a map, and she's young, so that means she's probably been trained for this like for years and years.
There's so many questions about like how May exists separate but together with the enclave of humans at the end of this. Like that little bit at the end of this movie like blew up my mind in terms of like, oh, the world building implications of this are just like spiraling out of control.
Is that something you think about a lot, Mike?
Yeah, look, I was waiting until later to bring this up, but there is a Planet of the Apes RPG coming out later next year. And when they first announced it, I was like, well, that doesn't. How do you play like Planet of the Apes RPG? Do you just play as humans? Do you just play as apes? This movie is what like exploded in my brain of just like, oh no, the possibilities are endless here.
Is very carefully.
The answer is very carefully.
I think obviously the best thing you can do in any franchise, which this is definitely a franchise, we're 4 movies in, the best thing you can do is create a solid entry that stands on its own, that has an impact, but also, like you're saying, you get to the end of this, I really want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
I really want to know what this is about and what the plan of the humans is and what's next for the Eagle Clan under Noah.
What is Dyken Lockman, who hasn't aged in 20 years, doing in that underground bunker?
Yeah.
That lady, by the way, I want her to end up in every single genre franchise ever.
She's working on it, quite frankly.
She's been in Marvel. She's been in what was that one that was for a while on the thing where they uploaded their personalities into new bodies.
Altered Carbon, yeah.
Yeah, Altered Carbon. She was in that.
She was in Severance. Yep.
Severance, yeah. Man, well, she's great. So we're in good hands.
No, and I like this. Like, we'll put her in. She'll probably be a bigger part in the next movie. You know. But yeah, and that whole sequence, yeah, where you just go like, because the whole time, once again, such smart screenwriting. The whole movie, you're going like, oh, there are these people out there. You know, you meet May, she doesn't talk. Then you're like, oh, she can talk. You're like, oh, she's smarter than most humans. And then you start to be like, oh, wait, she comes from somewhere. Oh, there's this. And then you realize like, oh, shit, there's like a whole thing. And they've got an underground bunker and satellite. And she needed this thing. The second she goes rummaging around the old, you know, burnt out military bunker that Proxima Caesar's trying to get into, and starts like, okay, here are the guns. I'm gonna pull this. You start to go like, what is this woman doing? What do you got?
I know. All the questions are coming up.
The smart. That's the way. Like, claiming this screenplay is in any way like lazy or dumbed down is so undone by the character of May and how they slowly unfold that onion of like what's her deal. It's so good.
We should give credit to Josh Friedman, who's the credited screenwriter on this movie, who also wrote the Spielberg War of the Worlds and is the showrunner on Foundation on Apple. And Brendan has a script, his next script that's in production, about to start filming right now, is a little film called The Fantastic Four.
Oh,
interesting. I will say that the guy who wrote this is writing Fantastic Four makes me even more excited, right? Like,
yeah, no, that's good news. I'll take it.
I mean, I like a lot of his stuff. I mean, Terminator Dark Fate, he has a story by credit, we should state.
Okay.
A story by credit.
Like,
I was afraid you were going to say in his next project, Brendan, you're going to really enjoy this. Paste Pot Pete. Yeah. I was going to go, that's mine, damn it!
But credit to Freya Allen as well, the actress who obviously plays May. You'd probably recognize her as Ciri from the Witcher show. She's a big part of.
I only watched like 4 episodes of it. It was just too different from the game, which I absolutely love, so I gave up.
If you've read the books,
I read.
Actually, I hear even it doesn't even do justice by the books, which was Mr. Cavill's problem with it.
But here's the thing: she was fine. It's not what I pictured Ciri as, so she didn't make much of an impression on me there. Here, what's interesting is she has a look, and I think that she's a good actress. I think she was also chosen because her natural features are so young. She is such a wee slip of a gal that it's sort of subterfuge, because she seems this Gaiman like little protect the little girl, even though I think she's in her late 20s probably.
Let's see. She was born in she is 23.
Oh, okay. Then, wow, she's really young in The Witcher then. But regardless, she's big-eyed and that kind of thing. So you do, for a long time, think, oh, she's one of the poor humans. Then she's speaking. I think the pants were also a giveaway. The fact she had pants, I was like, oh, I don't think she's one of the tribe of the feral humans.
Yeah.
The herd. But,
I I love that I really, because I had seen all the trailers for this, but and which focus so much on the Proxima Caesar and the movie's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, that when they get to the tribe of humans and her and Raka are like, I guess we'll just live here now. I'm going like, I don't know where this movie's going now, actually.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm like, are these two just gonna like peace out? And we're like halfway through the movie, we haven't even gotten to the titular kingdom.
There was something so subtly unsettling about human beings moving like herd animals at a watering hole.
And that goes back to the original movie, of course, which, you get the moment here that is very reminiscent of, and also, because I'm a score nerd, the fact that there are little pieces of the Jerry
I heard it.
Yeah, the Jerry Planet of the Apes score in there, particularly the hunt sequence.
Of course, the hunt sequence is where you would want to put that in.
And it's great. And the apes on horseback. And also, I love the apes in masks. All that stuff is so cool. And they're raiding the village. And it's just, it's all, everything. I just don't.
Here's the thing. We can talk about this movie.
You're lazy. That's insane to me.
No, I know. But this is a movie where, like we've said before, because we do podcasts where we talk about these things that we watch, when it's something very good, you can just, it ends up being, and that part, did you like that part where, because that was awesome.
Show, right? It's the Chris Farley show.
It does boil down to that. This is smart and it's well done and it hits you in the heart. I was getting weepy over those pixels when they would die, but it was also just a lot of awesome. Like you're saying, when you see the closest version of gorillas on horseback hunting, and it's what they wanted to do back in 1969, but you're seeing it here and you're like, this is amazing.
Well, when you see the realization, I talk about this a lot with Tron Legacy. Gurgoni, I know you're also a big Tron guy. Yeah, a little bit. I believe somebody made their own identity discs when we went to see that movie.
Correct. Yes, I did.
Oh boy. So what frisbee did you use?
Well, specifically, I went and found some glow in the dark ones that had the right opacity. It was a quest.
Oh no, wow. It was he went all in. But anyway, But the thing I remember thinking about Legacy, which we can get into, there are people who like or dislike that movie, but whatever. But the thing I was so stunned by when I saw it was I was like, this is what I imagined as a kid seeing it. This is the realization of it being like real when I sort of had to fill in the blanks of those computer dots in the original movie. Now I'm going like, holy shit, that is a light cycle, man. Like, and that's how I feel about this too, where you're going like, yeah, man, this is what 68 was trying to be. They were doing
this is the realization. This is the realization.
It's the same thing obviously with the best comic book movies are like that too, where you just like, that thing I've read my whole life is real and in front of me now.
Yep.
What do we think about the directing in this film? There's a lot of Wes Ball has been out in front of this movie quite a bit, and he's getting a lot of press because he's also attached to the Legend of Zelda movie.
That's the big thing. Is the next thing he's doing is the Legend of Zelda.
Which I wish I could be excited, but I've never played one of those games.
That's okay.
No, because it was console exclusive, a console I never had, so I've never played a Zelda game. I know how huge they are, but
they are very big. I guess I will say, Brendan, Zelda is a big franchise.
Sure. No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just not excited.
Yeah. But this is such a possible critique, and I don't even think it's a critique because I think you're playing into tropes, and that is a good thing when you're telling this. This is a very stock adventure story, at least in terms of like Noah is like the character whose village gets burned down. There's a lot of like archetypes built into this film, in a very like intentional way,
which is also very present in Zelda.
Which is also extremely present in Zelda,
like, and almost the core backbone of Zelda is like how elemental it is in its heroic journey.
The way this movie presents it in terms of like Wes Ball's direction and like what he gets out of his actors. I think that, again, there's no weak link in this cast, which is one of the other impressive things about this film. And
everybody's so in on this thing, and
some of that can come down to the cast, right? You get strong actors, but a lot of that
casting is what 80% of directing is the old quote. Yeah,
but the guy who ties those performances together to try to make a cohesive picture is the director, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, ideally.
So I think there is something not to we would be good to serve the idea that like there's a guy at the center of this who is directing these people who are on a CG screen somewhere.
No, I when I see
acting
movies
against
like
tennis balls.
as somebody who has directed short films and wants to direct features, I can't wrap my head around trying to wrangle something like this together. The amount of pieces that you need in your head at all times, and it's a lot about seeing things that aren't in front of you, right? It's I'm shooting this
Well,
knowing
John, I think it also boils down to you're just a coward. You're a coward.
Well, I just the appeal of directing films is, to me, as much as I love watching these, has never been about doing CGI heavy stuff. Simply because that I like the idea of just looking through a camera and seeing what it's going to look like.
Right.
This requires so much patience, so much. And this guy, by the way, Wes Ball comes to us from the Maze Runner trilogy, which
Never
is.
saw 'em.
They're the best of the right. Like they're way better than they should be. Like that's the thing about the Maze Runner movies, that all the reviews were all like that too. We're just going like, I think these are kind of good. I don't know, like they're
Is it
really
considered better than Hunger Games?
Critically, a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
I think as film, certainly. I don't know about like in terms of source material, but I would say I definitely see much more praise for the filmmaking of the Maze Runner movies.
Okay.
And that certainly that got him this job. Although the thing that in the interview I was reading with him and Jaffin Silver that is kind of a bummer about him getting that Zelda thing is he's going like probably won't be able to do more of these Apes movies. Gotta go Zelda, but he's like, I want to stay. He wants to stay involved, so he will be a creative force in these because he is going like the three of us, Jaffa, Silver, and myself, are all already talking about we're setting this up to build this thing. We have these ideas about these threads for what this trilogy is going to be, but he's probably going to have to hop on over to Zelda there.
Okay. Well, I will bid him a fond farewell. I'll probably watch the Zelda movies. I just won't be dressed in character when they premiere.
The thing of
Say that now.
Yeah. Grigoni probably will be. No,
I will be making you a green hat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, you've failed because Link doesn't talk.
Well, that's there.
He doesn't talk?
Therein lies one of the big things that will be addressed.
Seriously,
when you're adapting
never in any of the Zelda games.
Yeah, but Zelda does. The princess does.
Yeah, absolutely. Zelda talks.
So the lead character goes through the entire adventure never saying anything.
Correct.
Wow, I'm blown away.
Here's the thing: is like that's also why I'm like, good luck to you, West Ball, because I don't know how I would adapt those into a film as classical and elemental and like archetypical as the broad stories are. There's going to be some interesting character challenges.
Like there's no backstory at all.
Well,
there's way too much backstory depending on who you ask.
Well, there's a lot. That's a minefield. Is all I'm saying. Is like
all right, and let's not go down that road.
No, but the thing I'm gonna say about
so
what
it started when the three goddesses descended from the whole.
All right, I have to once again cut Grigoni off about lore.
I got your Hyrule right here, baby.
Well, no, the goddess Hylia came later.
All right, we get it. Yeah. So we the thing I was gonna say I love about his approach is it's very. In that way that you're talking about, even in the like tropes of the adventure story, Grigoni, the film is very classical in its filmmaking. It's very old school. It's big, wide shots. It really does feel like an old-fashioned epic in that sense. He's very different than the way Matt Reeves directs. Because Matt Reeves is very much about long takes, long lenses of close-ups, and putting you right in the and those were different movies though, because certainly with the last one. It's a war movie, and so his was much more about the adrenaline of that, the intensity of that visceral, intimate violence. Whereas
Dawn
this
is almost like a political thriller.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's very dark. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of. I saw some criticism of this going like, boy, they've really lightened up the look of this here. It's like, yeah, because that's the story. This is about coming.
Well, that was also
into
earlier in time when the works of man had not completely given way, and they're much more human focused and that kind of thing. And this is finally.
society. This is about the rebuilding of it.
Nature has grown over that. It is a beautifully imagined world, and made me a little jealous. Like, I wouldn't mind, except for I don't want to be drinking out of a pond, and I don't want to wear rags.
There's zebra poop in that water. I'm just saying.
There's zebra poop.
Oh, the zebra sequence was amazing too, and they're like, "What is
that?"
Yeah. It's great because Rocka the whole movie has been like, "Well, this is this, and there are things that this," and it's just like, what the hell is that?
But also, he's another great archetype of the wise man who's never left the place.
Yeah,
he has all this knowledge, but he has no one to give it to.
Yeah.
And then when he is like, okay, I'll go with you, he's then confronted by things like, you know what? I have no idea what that is. That is crazy.
These are never talked about that.
Is it just me, or is May wearing pants? Or actually, at the time,
all
Nova.
the Rocka scenes.
We called them all Nova.
Love it.
Come on, that's great.
Love it.
When they're going through the airport and he's just like, we think that ancient apes used to keep humans here.
Yeah. Well, I love that whole idea too about like, apes, apes and humans live side by side. Well, the apes were in charge, of course, but it's like it's just.
I was reminded so much of. There's this ancient Greek writer named Xenophon who was like wandering through the desert one time, and he stumbles across some ruins, and he's like, who built these? And the people who live there going like, well, we have no idea. What they didn't know is that it was from a Assyrian kingdom that fell less than like 200 years ago. But it's time and history keeps moving, and so eventually people just have no recognition of what they're living in or building upon. And I find that so charming in this film.
Yes.
It's great. Also, we haven't said the name Peter Macon, who plays Rocka in this, and who I am a massive fan of for his performance as Bortus on the Orville.
Oh, he's Bortus. Yeah, he's great. He is
wonderful on that show. And I was saying this, I didn't know, but the whole movie I kept going, I know, because he also is on Family Guy now because of the Orville. He plays Peter's boss on Family Guy now, so. And he has a very distinctive voice, and similarly charming in the Orville as like stern guy with authoritative voice who also has a lot of humanity to him though, because Bortus, of course, if you haven't seen the Orville, is very Worf-like from Star Trek.
Yeah,
and Gorgoni, you and I, huge Orville fans. Brendan, you are appreciative, if not...
I'm appreciative. I've watched the first 2 seasons and enjoyed it. I just haven't, latched onto it like, I found the greatest thing in the world. I'm just like, I like it.
It was definitely coming out at a time in which like we were hungry for classical Star Trek and weren't getting it at the time.
And even now that we are, I still love Orville too.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't mentioned Owen Teague either, who plays Noah. It's interesting because like the actors who play the apes in this movie so disappear into those roles, it's almost easier to not recognize them as actors.
What's amazing though is that also like they kind of, they do and they don't, right? Like what's amazing is how much of them is still there. Because like just looking at Owen Teague's IMDb photo, I see Noah in his face. Like the eyes are there. And actually, as I was saying to you, Gergon, I looked before this. I did not realize he played Patrick Hockstetter in the It movies. So I have seen this guy as.
I didn't realize that he had played Patrick Duffy in Man from Atlantis. What?
Yeah, no, Patrick. Of course, he's the horrible bully character in the It franchise. But he's fantastic here. And I just saw him in a movie I recommend people check out. Nothing like the Planet of the Apes movies at all, but Eileen with Anne Hathaway and Thomasin McKenzie, really interesting little indie thriller.
Yeah, I see that's streaming now. I might check that out.
I recommend it. It is another movie where it successfully pulls off a twist. Is what I would say.
Okay,
that's very hard to do, as we know. But yeah, it's
turns out it was Earth the whole time.
What? You finally did it.
I thought it was 1950s Boston, but it was Earth all along. Wait a minute. No, he's great though, and of course, this is his story. He has to carry this thing, and similar to actually what is so great about Frey Allen's performance in this is he starts out as this wide-eyed innocent, and you watch him go on this journey. Of course, with her,
in his case, it's actual growth. In her case, it's subterfuge. So it's interestingly done.
That's the thing I like, that by the end of the movie, you are unsure what subterfuge with May, right? Like how
Right.
much, because I don't.
The little shot of her, like
with the gun behind her back,
with the gun behind her
Yeah.
back, like the just in case kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
it's like, don't you know that Noah's not gonna, even though
I think she mostly does, but there's that 10% of her that's like, he might not.
right, she made the hard call, and it was both her mission. She didn't want to kill off any of those apes. She just wanted to prevent them from getting that machinery. And of course, I just love the bit where Proximus gets into the vault and he's like going, "What are these?" It's like the new toys thing. He's like, "Oh, this is what I've dreamed of." It's like,
you don't want Proximus with tanks.
The idea of gorillas with tanks.
Woo! I do kind of want that.
I do too.
Oh, I also
would be
like
badass.
The first time she shoots the gun, and he's just like, "Are there more of those?"
I know, and that
he's almost just like daddy like.
I know, and it's so creepy. The weight on May is again something that she acts very well, but does a story point where you sit there going, whether or not she believes that they could actually incorporate those weapons, because they still have a learning curve to know what they do. And
I did want to try to see them actually like fire up a tank, and like that's going to take a while.
But at the same time, that is literally like an Olympian god looking at Prometheus, going like, I don't know if the fire thing is going to be such a good idea for you guys. So the whole idea of May like making that tough call that was badass and heartbreaking, and she blows the dam and the water comes. It's like,
I think she does form a bond with Noah.
She does,
but also is like, I'm a human and I'm looking out for my people. I'm not looking to destroy you and yours. This guy's got to be stopped. But also like priority's got to be my people.
And it does seem that as bad as that is, it does look like a good chunk of the Eagle Clan made it.
Yeah.
Because
they're all singing there.
All the people, I think that all the people that escape are just Eagle Clan. So he had already absorbed a lot of other clans apparently, but at the end it looks like Noah's like, "Climb, get up, follow me." Apparently,
Eagle Clan was the ones being used as like slaves, and then like some of the other clans are living outside. You see a bunch of them scatter when the dam breaks. Like, there's plenty of apes walking away from that.
Yes. In the way that makes sense is we established at the beginning of the movie that they are climbing to get the eggs so like they have a requisite skill set.
Yes.
That maybe the other apes don't.
They are the climbers, and they are the
climb is the metaphor, right? It's Noah needs to climb to the top, and that's his journey.
Where the people, they get into because they, Proximus has his people. God, that brutal scene where he's like, "Today we try to open it again." And then that chain snap and like takes out a couple apes. He's just like,
"Oh, like, well, maybe tomorrow."
And you're just like, how many people have been killed? But once again, Noah and his friends get in by climbing up and down.
Yep.
And it's just like, that's not how Proximus sees things. He's like, we go at thing.
Yeah. Slam into that door till it gives way.
It's great. By the way, this movie was originally written as Empire of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh. Yes.
Save that for the third one in the trilogy.
Oh no, none of them will be called that because Disney was like, we have an Empire franchise.
Ah, I see.
That's what Wes Ball said. They came in and were like, no, only Star Wars can say Empire.
Wow.
I did think like as this movie was starting up when the 20th Century Studios logo was like, oh yeah, this is a Disney movie. I keep forgetting that.
It is. It's 20th Century Studios. It's not technically Fox anymore. It is 20th Century Studios. Which is,
do you think the next one will be something a little calmer and it'll be like Tea Time of the Planet of the Apes?
As long as it is something of the Planet of the Apes. I like that. I like the clunkiness of that is baked into it. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm so curious to see where this goes.
I think we're all in agreement. It's awesome. You should spend your money. Go see it. Help these people because Disney needs you.
I gotta say though, because the $160 million budget on this thing, which actually is not that much
for how good it looks.
by blockbuster summer standards, that's like middle of the road. Marvel movies are 200 plus. So, and it's already. We're talking about this in its second weekend of release. It's already made 237 million worldwide. So
it's doing okay.
Apes Together strong.
Yeah, Apes Together strong, and that is the thing where they once again are going like, people seem to go to these. Because after the Fall Guy kicked off summer kind of week, I saw a lot of things where it's like, oh God, movies are dead. It's over. It's over, man.
Meanwhile, they re-released Spider-Man 2, and it is now again the 5th highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing, and we always end up talking about the state of this, Gorgoni, but it is just like, the answer is still, it's really volatile, is what it is. You can't, which I think is actually in some ways, a good place for Hollywood to be in that you can't really predict it. You can't just be like, well, we know this will work. You just don't know anymore. And, as scary as that is, that also kind of is going to keep them on their toes and hopefully maybe keep them from being lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, with this, considering that this is a Disney film, how successful does this franchise have to get for us to get a chunk of Disneyland that is the Planet of the Apes?
Oh, God, I know. I would love that so much.
I would, except can you imagine what those actors would have to do?
They'd
have to wear ape costumes in the
they would.
Of Southern California or Florida.
I'll just say, man, they already have Tarzan's treehouse. Kick Apes treehouse.
Also, the guy wearing the Buzz Lightyear head isn't any less sweaty than the guy would be in the ape costume.
To be fair, I don't know.
There are cooling systems in those big costumes, but for these ape things, the Chewbacca actor, I'm sure, is only out there for 20 minutes, for a stretch, before he's brought back in and hydrated.
There is nothing quite like, though, just a Chewbacca walking past you. It is like,
I'd have to take your word for it, Jim.
Yeah, and actually,
one day I'll live that dream.
One day.
In a couple months, I'm going back.
All right, whatever. All right. Let's wrap it up because I'm hungry.
Yeah, the highest of recommends, of course, to
oh my God, yes,
of the Planet of the Apes. And of course, as we said at the beginning, if you want to hear us talk about more ape movies, Brandon and I do a show over on our Patreon called called The Last to Be Curious, where Brendan...
You're actually like, I don't remember what our podcast
No, sorry, Gorgoni did a Caesar salute there or whatever. And
Apes Strong Together.
Apes Strong Together.
Apes Strong Together.
That just pulled my attention. Yeah, The Last to Be Curious, of course, Brendan and I talk about franchises that Brendan is less familiar with, not sometimes wholly unfamiliar with. Sometimes you've seen one, as in the case of this.
Yes. Yes.
And if you enjoyed that, hopefully you will enjoy us talking about the Equalizer trilogy, which is what we're in the middle of recording of right now. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I love balancing equations.
I really enjoyed
it. Yeah. So many things are out of balance, and Denzel's going to equalize them, man.
That's. He's sitting there with those little weights, and he's like going, "Yep, nope, that's the one."
X equals Denzel. That's all we know.
X always equals Denzel.
All right, back to apes.
All right, how much that, of course, you can hear Gorgoni and I every week over on May the Panel Be With You, where we talk Star Wars comics. Gorgoni, you also host a show called Material Components.
Material Components, the actual play adventure on the Punch Up Entertainment Network as well. We are slowly closing in towards the end of season 2. We've got some one-shots planned for the interim while we take a little bit of a hiatus, including some Star Wars stuff in the near future.
Some Star Wars stuff that's in the hopper, for sure, yeah. And Brendan, you and I every week are talking about monsters over on Campbell and Jones.
We can't
Meet
stop
the monsters.
talking.
We're charting the history of monsters, of the classic monsters in cinema.
And we're being forced to watch Twilight. Thanks, everybody.
That's where you definitely want to go to our Patreon, because you can get early episodes, so you can be the first to hear us groan about Twilight. And of course, I do a show called the IP Squad, where we investigate film franchises and trends in films. And season 2 of that is just about to start, which also has Brendan and his brother Robin. So it's double the Jones.
That's too much. That's too many Joneses.
Yeah, can podcast handle too many Joneses?
I can't keep up with that many Joneses.
Yeah,
no.
Hurt. But that'll wrap up this week. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. But that is going to do it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.